and welcome to CUTV Nooze, Montreal's only alternative English television news program. This week, we present you two stories related to the 60th year of the creation of the State of Israel. First, a special report from Celine and Loren, who attended last night's Artists Against Apartheid at the Sala Rosa.
Well, we're marking the 60th anniversary of the creation of the State of Israel. That's 60 years of catastrophe, as would be understood throughout the Arab world, meaning that 750,000 Palestinian refugees were displaced through the creation of the State of Israel 60 years ago this month. We see an important place for artists today in terms of the international campaign against Israeli apartheid. You have a scenario in the West Bank where Israel's building an 8-meter high concrete barrier, dubbed the apartheid wall by many. That's apartheid, that's segregation, that's the denial of all basic human rights, and that's the reality today. Israel calls itself a democracy. I think that's a farce. You can't claim your democracy while you're occupying 3.5 million people. It's a catastrophe. You have 1.5 million Gazans living in what even United Nations officials have called the largest prison in the world. So we're in a scenario where the world continues to call for Palestinians to be able to return. Every year the United Nations votes in the General Assembly for a resolution that recognizes that right of return. Until now, Israel has ignored it. Recently we had a victory where the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, which is a union nationally in Canada that represents over 50,000 workers, they voted for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. That's the first national union in North America. pt1 is a collective that has worked in Montreal since 2005. It's a collective of social justice activists. So to get involved, anybody's welcome. Our website is tadamon.resist.ca. That's TADAMON.resist.ca. We think that we can play a modest role in bringing an end to Israeli apartheid.
Next, we welcome two representatives from the Concordia University chapter of SPHR, Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights.
Hi, we're here today with Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights with Sarah Shaltoni and Mohamed Al-Hussein, and they're here to talk to us about the 60-year commemoration of the Nakba. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
And please, we'll start off by telling us a little bit about SPHR and what you do.
SPHR stands for Solidarity for Palestinian Human Rights. It's a nonprofit student organization. It advocates for Palestinian human rights in and outside of the territories, and it promotes. It's about raising awareness in Canada, basically.
So you guys are at Concordia, and how long has the organization been around?
It has been around for around 7 years.
Mm-hmm. So this year is very important, and can you tell us about that?
Basically, in 1948, so 60 years ago, in May, Ben Gurion, who's a prominent Israeli figure, he declared the State of Israel in the land of Palestine. So in that year, 750,000 Palestinians were displaced. And so this is the commemoration of that year. And the Arabic term for catastrophe is Nakba. So that's the term that is widely used today for referring to that year.
Sarah, you are telling us a little bit the Nakba. And do you have any more historical figures about what has been happening for the last 60 years?
Well, basically, the main figure involved was Ben Gurion. In terms of other historical figures, on the Israeli side, you could say Sharon, you could say Olmert, you could say I mean, there's a lot, like you have to kind of specify what events do you want to know the historical figures for. But Ben-Gurion, he was responsible for most of the displacement of the Palestinian people and the leveling of the villages in Palestine.
Do you have any numbers for what has been going on, like in terms of how many people and have been displaced and where are they now? And
well, in the beginning, so in 1948 it was 750,000. Now there's about 3 million refugees, Palestinian refugees that live outside of Palestine, mostly in refugee camps. What other numbers do we have?
And then in the 1967, another around 250,000 from the West Bank and Gaza. So it's all around a million people got displaced from Palestine, and it became around 3.5 million people now in the refugees camps around Palestine. In Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt, a bit of Egypt.
Right.
And all around the world.
so we talked earlier about SPHR's new theme. So what is going to happen this year with the organization?
We're concentrating this year about the siege in Gaza. It's a very critical situation now in Gaza. The siege has been going on since 7-8 months now. Just want to mention something here. They used to come to Gaza about to get in Gaza 650 trucks of food and sources for people to live in Gaza, and since 7 months till now, not even one truck got in Gaza. So people are actually suffering there. There's no electricity, there's no fuel, there's no power plant is not working, water, sewage water is flooding the streets. Situation is miserable in Gaza. So we're trying to concentrate on that for next year, try to work on that so that we can help as much as possible.
How are you planning? Are you planning on doing this through SPHR at Concordia? What kind of activities are you thinking of doing? I'm sure it's not all set in stone, but what are the programs?
SPHR has different chapters in most of the universities in Canada. So when we set the theme, we set it for all the SPHRs around Canada, and we work on them on it, all of us together. For like certain events we haven't decided yet, but in general this is our theme. We're gonna get several speakers to talk about it. We're gonna get people maybe from inside Palestine, people who suffered there in Gaza. If we can get them out and talk about it, that'll be good. So we're gonna work on that in through different events.
It's mostly about raising awareness, really, because I mean, it's like just a big open air prison. All international aid is blocked, as you mentioned. People in Gaza, like when they open their front doors, it's an open sewage system in front of them. It's not closed. It's not underground like the benefits that we have living here. So I think if we raise enough awareness, something can be done. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, I certainly am with you, and I hope so.